Officially founded in 1682, Philadelphia experienced prosperity and became North America's largest city due to rapid population growth. It also included the world's second largest Quaker population. However, with the arrival of English Quakers, the Lenape population dropped to an astounding 4,000 after a series of land treaties and colonization. Subsequently, the Lenape people were displaced and forced to migrate west, eventually losing their dialectical languages and practices. The Fairhill region of the city was first settled by the new English colonizers in 1718, when Isaac Norris, a prosperous Quaker merchant of the Religious Society of Friends, constructed his large country estate on 900 acres of land. Shortly before Norris's purchase, William Penn granted George Fox, the founder of Quakerism, land for a meeting house, burial ground, and garden nearby. By 1720, roughly 10,000 people lived in the city of Philadelphia. Like Penn himself, most of the early settlers were Quakers, which included merchants and artisans. A primary belief of the Religious Society of Friends is that all human beings are equal and worthy of respect. Although Quakers had expressed anti-slavery sentiment dating back to the 1600s, condemning slavery as being both ethically and religiously wrong, Norris and his wife were slave owners throughout their lifetime. Norris had freed several slaves during his life, but his remaining slaves were inherited by his children, who would later grant them freedom. This was consistent with Quaker manumissions, which began in the 1730s at the height of the Quaker slave ownership and peaked in 1770s, in which about 19% of all inventory Quakers owned slaves, but eventually granted them freedom upon their deaths. The fervent anti-slavery activist and third-generation Quaker Benjamin Lay was born in England in 1682. Benjamin was a little person, standing just over 4 feet tall, and also suffered from an extreme curvature of the spine. His confrontational methods made people talk about him, his ideas about slavery, the nature of Quakerism, and Christianity. Lay was shocked when he arrived in Philadelphia to witness the daily realities of the utter depravity, bondage, violence, and repression of Africans from sinful man-stealers within the city of brotherly love. Soon after arriving in Philadelphia, Lay befriended Ralph Sandiford, who had published an indictment of slavery over the objection of the Board of Overseers 3 years earlier. Upon Sandiford's death, Lay began to stage public anti-slavery protests to shock the Friends of Philadelphia into awareness of their own moral failings about slavery. In 1738, Benjamin Franklin printed Lay's book, All Slave Keepers That Keep the Innocent in Bondage, Apostates, that became a founding text of Atlantic anti-slavery and an important advance in abolitionist thought. No one had ever taken such a militant, uncompromising, universal stand against slavery. However, soon after its publishing, Lay became the last of a very few Quakers disowned for their protest against slavery. In 1758, a group of Quaker reformers proposed a gradual end to slavery within its religious community. However, the practice among Quakers would continue for another 18 years. In 1776, the Religious Society of Friends prohibited Quakers from owning slaves, and 14 years later, they petitioned the U.S. Congress for the abolition of slavery.